We all admire someone, whether we realize it or not. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? That fire in your chest, the drive to be better, to chase your dreams, where does it come from? And more importantly, how can we use it when we need it the most? Today, we are diving into the power of role models and admiration. Why we look up to certain people and how that can shape who we want to become. Think about it. At some point, we've all admired someone. Maybe it was their confidence, success, or just the way they moved through life. As kids, our heroes were our parents. As we grew older, that admiration shifted, maybe to teachers, athletes, entrepreneurs, or even people in our daily lives. But why do we need role models? Do they really matter? That's exactly what we are exploring today. So stick around, because by the end of this episode, you might see admiration in a whole new way. To begin with, what's the use of having a role model? Well, the person we admire is just one of the many tools we use to navigate through life, helping us define where we want to go and who we want to become. But it's not enough to just have a role model. Understanding the power of admiration and how we can use it in our favor is what I hope to show you by the end of this video. But there's an equally important question. How do we find the person that we admire? Or better yet, how do we recognize heroes when we see them? I know the answer can vary drastically from person to person, so I want to talk about the person that I admire first before answering the last question. Personally, it took me a little while to realize that the person that I admire doesn't actually exist. He is entirely fictitious. Over the years, I've admired different people from different fields, for various qualities. And I've noticed certain traits kept coming up. This made it difficult to find just one person to truly look up to. So I thought, why not think about the person that I admire as an ideal? A collection of the, for me, best qualities to strive for. Deep down, we all know what traits we admire the most. So why not combine them all into one figure? It seemed like a simple solution to my problem, but it came with its own challenges. The first challenge was my imagination. The more I tried to piece these qualities together, the more unattainable this person became. He started to resemble an ultra-rich, hyper-intelligent, wise, funny, and enlightened guru. A figure so flawless that striving to be like him felt impossible. Naturally, if we start cherry-picking the best traits from people we might not even know, this fictional character starts to feel not just unrealistic, he starts to feel unreachable. After all, everyone has flaws, right? Even our heroes. So this brings us to the second challenge. What's the point of admiring someone if we can never actually become like them? Well, again, for me, the answer is guidance. I like to think about this person as a compass, something that points me towards the qualities I want to cultivate in myself. Even if it's almost impossible to become like him, I don't find that discouraging, or see it as an excuse not to try. On the contrary, it means there will always be room for growth, allowing us to keep improving while also making our presence more enjoyable, or even desirable to others. Over time, I began to reframe these so-called downsides of having an unattainable role model into something more meaningful. And as I did, I actually started to appreciate this mental picture. What once felt pointless slowly turned into motivation. This is just one way to find or even create the person who sparks a sense of admiration within you. Maybe your hero looks different, but what truly matters is understanding and reflecting why you admire that person, which of his or her aptitudes you would like to learn, and how to use that admiration as a guide in your own journey to becoming the person you want to be. So, now that we've identified our role model, we have a clearer idea of the path we want to follow and what it means to live by their example. The only problem? It's not that simple. I can think of countless moments when I've fallen short or have forgotten those qualities that I would like to have so ingrained within my soul that they show up naturally. For example, times when I let anger or frustration take over, like a simple fight with a friend. We all have this voice inside telling us that it wasn't worth it, and we end up acting in ways we knew we shouldn't have. And that's the tricky part. Admiring an ideal is one thing, but embodying it when it truly matters is something else entirely. And of course, thinking about the person that we admire or is ideal in the middle of a storm is already hard enough. And even if you do, following his example in the heat of the moment is the real challenge. In my case, whenever I realize that I forgot to actually be the person that I would like to be, it doesn't make me feel unworthy or that I failed. On the contrary, this idealization reminds me why I aspire to be better in the first place. It's about how these moments of failure can still serve a purpose. I like to look back at those moments and imagine how the person I admire would have handled things differently. Deep down, I know he would have stayed in control, responding with more patience and clarity. That thought alone reinforces the idea of him as a compass, reminding me that I, too, want to learn to manage my reactions in a better way. Every time, after things have calmed down, you could maybe ask yourself, and what would he have done in this situation? Somehow, for me, that question makes it feel like the lesson would actually stick around for the next time. And when similar situations arise, as they inevitably will, it becomes easier to respond without being consumed by your emotions or saying something you later regret. So, in the end, it doesn't matter how you define the person that you admire. It doesn't even matter if he's a real hero or just an ideal. The real value of admiration is that it sparks the desire to move forward and become better. More importantly, it gives us something to reach for in the moments when it feels hardest to do so. Even if that realization only comes in the aftermath, it still matters. Because then, you know you can take that memory with you for the next time. Personally, this is something I regularly reflect on and try to apply as much as I can. And with practice, we can get better at accessing that mindset when we need it the most. And if we do, it means we're growing, becoming more like the person we aspire to be, because we're following our hero, a compass guiding us in the right direction. After all, that's where the person we admire will always go. At the same time, we must learn to be at peace with the fact that we'll never fully become like our heroes. This keeps us from getting too comfortable or taking our progress for granted, as well as leaving space to be genuinely ourselves. Think of the place where you want to go as an ever-moving island. I suggest embracing the timeless wisdom of focusing more on the journey rather than the destination, and let admiration be the fuel for that journey.